So one of the things that sometimes gets confusing is whether we can average percents. And what I mean by that is finding the mean. And so again, the mean is to add up and divide by the total. We'll be a little more specific when we get to our statistics unit, but we add up all the items and divide by the total. I skipped a word here. Divide by the number of items, the total number of items. So let's say you have a 40% and a 50%, and we want to add those up and divide by 2. Well, that's easy enough. We get 90% divided by 2, which is 45%. Well, that makes sense. I mean, mathematically, we can do that. But now let's say that that 40% is out of 100, and the 50% is out of 1,000. So 40% out of 100 is going to be 40, where 50% out of 1,000 is 500. And so is 45% out of what? What are we talking about? Is it 45% out of 100 or 45% out of 1,000? Because if we take our 40 plus 500 and divide that by 2, now we have 540 divided by 2, and 540 is going to be 270. So that would mean 45% of something has to give us 270. And so we want to stay away from finding the mean or any kind of average of percents, because again, it goes back to what is the 40% out of. If we don't know what the out of is, then we're not going to be able to take a true average of those. So we just need to be careful with that, because I know that's something that's sometimes very easy to do, is just to add them up and divide. But since we don't know what the out of idea is, we have to be very careful with that. Now, if they're both out of 100 or both out of 1,000, then we can do this. But if we don't know, then we're going to have then we're not going to know whether this mean is correct. And then the last thing we want to talk about is making errors. And anytime we're rounding, we're always making some sort of error, because the accuracy in rounding only gives us an approximation. And that's why it's important that we all have the same standard rounding rules for each class, so that we're not causing errors throughout, or at least within the class. Might be errors between two different classes if two different instructors have two different ways of rounding things, and that's why we establish certain rounding rules for each particular class. But in general, we can also look at some ideas within context from real-world situations. And as we know, every time that we get on a scale, we always have determined that the scale is wrong. We just inherently think that the scale is wrong, and so we say that. So if your true weight is 127 pounds, and that's your true weight, and the scale indicates that your weight is 131 pounds, the error in the scale, so we're going to say that our true weight, our actual weight, is the one that we know to be true. So this is what we would call, quote, the old value, or we're going to call it the standard, either way you want to think about it. And then the errored weight, so the 130 is either the, quote, new idea or the compare, if you want to think of the words that we've already used. And so, because those are the words that we used in terms of absolute. And so, so in absolute terms, we would take 131 minus 127 pounds, which means it's 4 pounds. And in relative terms, we have 4 divided by our old value or our true value or our standard value, which is 127, which gives us 0.031 or 3.1%. This again is the size of the error. So the scale overestimated or overestimated the correct weight or the true weight by 4 pounds or 3.1%. So again, a complete sentence to indicate this time we're using the word overestimated or underestimate, or overpredicted or underpredicted. So another example, the AAA estimated that Americans would be paying less than $3.75 a gallon of gas during the summer of 2023. In June, the price of gas was $3.60. Thank goodness it wasn't $6. $3.60. State the size. Now, keep in mind, size means relative. So we want the in relative terms. So we're going to so we have to figure out the absolute so that we can find the relative, but we can do this in one step. So relative, we now have to figure out which one is the correct value and which one is the estimated value. So AAA estimated that. So this is the one that is the estimated or the guessing one. This is our actual one or our true one. Okay, so looking at what we did up here, we know that the true weight is kind of the old weight or the standard weight. So we're going to take $3.75 minus our correct amount. And we're going to divide that by $3.60. And so we know that it was off. So they were over by 15 cents. We know that, but it's asking for the size, so we have to do the division. So we have 0.15. So it's off by 15 cents out of our $3.60, which gives us 0.4166. Oops, nope. Made it too much. 0.0416. So that's going to be 4 and the 6 is going to make the 1 a 2, so it's 4.2%. So AAA overpredicted by 4.2%.